Thank you very much for being here, both those who are going to provide testimony as well as those of you who are here to participate or hear. What I want to say before we first get started, I want to thank Congressman Torres for the invitation for us to be here to look a bit deeper into some of the issues that we're facing, and want to make also certain before we get started that we are not here to make any accusations against any individual, any state, anybody. We are here to secure information and not throw around accusations, but seek information. And accusations can be placed on a bumper sticker, and information requires a lot more commitment to securing facts and seeking solutions. So that's where we are. And this subcommittee will now come to order, and without objection, the chair is authorized to declare recess of the subcommittee at any time without objections. Members of the House or House not the subcommittee are authorized to participate in today's hearing. The hearing is titled "A Matter of Life and Death, Improving Fire Safety in Federally Assisted Housing." I would like to now recognize myself for a 3-minute opening. First, I'd like to welcome our first panel of witnesses, and but I think maybe we'll go back and do the opening statements, and because I want to make sure Mr. Torres speaks on these issues. On January 9th, a fire broke out at the Twin Parks Northwest apartment building, taking the lives of 17 Bronx, New York residents in what was New York's deadliest fire in 3 decades. The fire was reported to have been caused by an electronic space heater in a 3rd floor unit to stay warm on what was a cold winter morning. As the inferno spread throughout the unit into other parts of the building, survivors reported a thick, chalky smoke that blocked some residents from escaping and incapacitated others as they attempted to flee. Subsequent investigation singled out malfunctioning self-closing doors as a key reason. Smoke from the flames quickly engulfed much of the 19-story tower. The deaths of all victims, including children as young as 2 years old, was later attributed to smoke inhalation. The incident at Twin Parks Northwest was tragic. The incident was also preventable. And I want to be clear, what happened at Twin Parks Northwest was unacceptable to this committee. And look, I spent 7 years living in public housing with my mother, father, and 3 sisters. I understand the whole issue surrounding public housing because I know about it experientially. And I know that that there are always going to be struggles. So growing up and living in public housing was a source of pride for my family. If you were lucky enough to live in public housing, you actually had an advantage. It is painful for me to know that today there are families like mine who wait years and years for federal assistance only to live in a unit where they must resort to space heaters to keep their children warm at night. Families living in buildings where property owners have been negligent in their responsibility to provide a safe and healthy environment for their residents. This is not true of all federally assisted housing, or even most, but it is far too common. Federal, state, and local governments have a responsibility to conduct inspections, to enforce the law, and where necessary to hold owners accountable to the safety of their residents. The tragedy at Twin Parks Northwest was an unacceptable failure of this system, and it underscores the urgent need to improve oversight of fire safety in federal assisted housing. The tragedy at Twin Parks Northwest also underscores the effects our country's affordable housing crisis is having on American families. and the need for additional investment. This committee, under the leadership of Chairwoman Maxine Waters, has worked diligently to advocate for federal investments in decent, safe, and sanitary housing for American families. We've held hearings. We have drafted and advanced bold legislation responsive to the needs of tenants. And we have now come to New York City at the request of Congressman Torres to highlight the critical need for this committee legislation to advance in Washington. Importantly, the legislation, still called Build Back Better, passed by the U.S. House of Representatives in November 2021, includes this committee's provision to provide $150 billion to expand access to affordable, accessible housing, including $65 billion to repair and modernize public housing, $1.6 billion to revitalize distressed multifamily properties, and $5 billion to address health and safety hazards in low-income housing. As members of this committee know, the investments put forward by this committee are a matter of life and death for American families across the nation. And as many of you watching today know, the incident at Twin Parks Northwest was not an isolated incident. I would like to thank you all for being here today, and I look forward to your testimony on what we need to do now. Now I recognize my colleague, Congressman Torres, for 5 minutes.